Imagine waking up one morning with everything you ever wanted, more money than you could spend, the perfect job, a beautiful home, and people who love you. At first, the excitement would be overwhelming. But then, something strange would happen. After a few days, maybe weeks, that happiness would begin to fade. Life would still have problems, you'd still feel stressed, and you might even find yourself wondering, why don't I feel as happy as I should? This happens because happiness isn't something we can lock in with external success. It isn't a finish line we reach after achieving certain goals. It's not hiding in a future event or waiting for us in perfect circumstances. It's a daily experience shaped by the way we think, how we handle challenges, and the small choices we make moment by moment. The mistake many people make is believing happiness is something that happens to them. They assume that if life gets easier, they'll automatically feel better. If they land their dream job, they'll finally be content. If they find the right relationship, life will feel complete. But reality doesn't work that way. A promotion comes with pressure. Relationships require effort. Even the best situations have their frustrations. This book isn't about chasing happiness. It's about understanding how to create it, not by forcing yourself to be positive all the time, but by shifting the way you experience life. It's about learning how to be happy even when life is far from perfect, even when things feel overwhelming, even when everything seems unfair. We all know people who seem naturally happy no matter what's going on. They're not immune to struggle, but they bounce back faster. They don't dwell on what's wrong. They don't let disappointments control their emotions. They seem to find joy in the smallest things. This isn't luck, it's a skill. And like any skill, it can be learned. The first step is realizing that happiness isn't about eliminating hardship. Difficulties will always exist. There will always be stress, setbacks, and things beyond our control. But happiness isn't about removing the hard parts of life. It's about learning to navigate them differently. The way we think, react, and interpret events determines how we feel more than the events themselves. Consider two people stuck in traffic. One is gripping the steering wheel, frustrated, complaining about how unfair it is. The other turns on their favorite music, enjoys the break, and feels fine. Same situation, two completely different experiences. One is suffering, the other is at peace. The difference isn't the traffic, it's how they choose to experience it. Now imagine applying that mindset to bigger problems. Losing a job, facing rejection, dealing with uncertainty. Some people break down under pressure while others adapt and grow. Again, it's not about avoiding hardship, but choosing how to respond to it. This book is designed to help you master that skill. It won't tell you to ignore your feelings or pretend problems don't exist. Instead, it will show you how to shift your perspective so challenges lose their power over your happiness. It will guide you toward a way of thinking that creates joy even when life feels heavy. You might be skeptical. You might think, that's easy to say, but my situation is different. Maybe you're going through something painful and the idea of happiness seems impossible. That's understandable. This isn't about instant results. It's about small, daily shifts that lead to profound change over time. It's about learning to stop waiting for happiness and start building it right where you are. Throughout this book, we'll explore 5 essential aspects of lasting happiness. First, how your mind shapes your reality and how small shifts in thought patterns can transform your emotions. Second, how to find joy in the ordinary instead of constantly chasing big moments that rarely last. Third, how to develop resilience so difficulties don't steal your peace. Fourth, how connection and meaning contribute to deep fulfillment. And finally, how to build daily habits that make happiness sustainable, not something that comes and goes with circumstances. The goal isn't to force happiness. It's to build a life where happiness comes naturally no matter what's happening around you. Not because life is perfect, but because you've learned how to experience it differently. Right now, you don't need more things, better circumstances, or a perfect life to be happy. You just need a new way of seeing what's already in front of you. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Mind's Power Over Happiness. Happiness is not determined by circumstances. It is shaped by the way we think, interpret events, and react to life. Two people can experience the same situation and feel completely different emotions. The difference is not in what happens, but in how the mind processes it. This means that true happiness is not about what life gives us, but about how we choose to experience it. The human mind is wired to focus on problems. This is a survival instinct. Our ancestors had to constantly scan for danger, anticipate threats, and react quickly. While this was necessary in a world full of physical dangers, today it often works against us. Instead of seeing the good in life, we instinctively notice what is wrong, what could go wrong, or what is missing. This creates stress, anxiety, and dissatisfaction even when life is objectively good. To change this, we must become aware of how our thoughts shape our emotions. If we believe that happiness depends on external factors, we will always feel like something is missing. We will wait for the right job, the right relationship, or the perfect moment before allowing ourselves to feel happy. But if we realize that happiness is a result of our inner world, we can begin to take control. We can shift our thoughts, reframe our experiences, and create happiness regardless of circumstances. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One sees it as a disaster, something unfair that ruins their plans. The other sees it as a learning experience, an opportunity to grow. The situation is the same, but their experiences are completely different. One feels frustrated and helpless, the other feels motivated and resilient. The difference lies in their perspective. This is not about ignoring reality or pretending everything is perfect. It is about recognizing that we have control over how we interpret events. A setback can be seen as a failure or as a step towards success. A rejection can be seen as a personal defeat or as redirection towards something better. The meaning we assign to events determines how we feel about them. One of the biggest obstacles to happiness is negative thought patterns. The mind constantly creates stories about who we are, what we can achieve, and what our future will be like. If these stories are based on fear, insecurity, or past failures, they will create unnecessary suffering. If they are based on resilience, self-compassion, and a belief in growth, they will create happiness. Many people assume that their thoughts are facts, but thoughts are not reality. They are just interpretations. If someone makes a mistake at work and thinks, "I am not good enough," that thought is not a fact. It is an opinion shaped by past experiences and self-doubt. Another person in the same situation might think, "I can learn from this," and move on without feeling discouraged. This is why self-awareness is essential. By observing our thoughts without immediately believing them, we can start to separate reality from interpretation. Instead of being controlled by negative thoughts, we can challenge them and choose more helpful perspectives. Gratitude is one of the simplest ways to shift the mind's focus. When we actively look for things to appreciate, we train the brain to see what is good instead of what is missing. This does not mean ignoring problems. It means balancing them with an awareness of what is already working in our lives. People who practice gratitude regularly report higher levels of happiness, not because their lives are perfect, but because they have learned to notice the good. Another powerful habit is reframing. Instead of seeing a difficult situation as purely negative, we can ask ourselves what it might teach us. If something goes wrong, we can focus on what we can control instead of what we cannot. This shift in perspective does not change reality, but it changes how we experience it. Happiness is not about eliminating all negative emotions. It is about learning to manage them in a way that does not consume us. Difficult feelings are a natural part of life, but they do not have to define our overall happiness. The ability to experience sadness, frustration, or disappointment without letting them take over is a skill that leads to emotional resilience. We often assume that happiness should come effortlessly, but in reality, it requires practice. Just like physical fitness, mental well-being improves with consistent effort. Training the mind to focus on positive perspectives, challenge negative thoughts, and find meaning in daily experiences is a process. Over time, these small shifts create a lasting foundation for happiness. There is no need to wait for external circumstances to change. Happiness begins the moment we decide to take control of our perspective. By becoming aware of how our thoughts shape our emotions, we gain the power to create happiness, no matter what life brings. Chapter 2, Finding Joy in the Ordinary and Waking Up Tomorrow with No Memory of Your Life. For a few moments, you would have no expectations, no regrets, no worries. You would simply open your eyes and experience everything as if it were new. The sunlight coming through the window, the sound of birds outside, the feeling of your breath moving in and out. For a brief moment, you would be fully present, and in that presence, there would be peace. But then, memory would return. You would start thinking about your problems, your to-do list, the things you wish were different. The simple joy of just being would disappear, replaced by the familiar weight of everyday concerns. This is what happens to most people every day. They wake up, but instead of noticing the life around them, they get caught in their thoughts. They rush through the morning thinking about work. They eat breakfast without tasting it. They walk past trees and sky and people, but none of it really registers. Their mind is too busy elsewhere. Days pass like this, unnoticed. And then they wonder why life feels dull, why happiness feels distant, why nothing ever seems to be enough. The truth is, happiness is often hiding in plain sight. It's not something we need to chase. It's something we need to notice. The problem is not that life is lacking joy. The problem is that we have trained ourselves to overlook it. People assume that happiness comes from big events, getting a promotion, going on vacation, falling in love. These moments do bring excitement, but the feeling doesn't last. After a while, the new job becomes normal, the vacation ends, the relationship settles into routine. If happiness is always tied to big moments, then life in between those moments feels empty. But life is mostly made up of small moments. If we only allow ourselves to be happy during the big ones, we are missing most of our life. Finding joy in the ordinary means learning to see life as it is, instead of waiting for something better. It means paying attention to simple things, a warm cup of coffee, the sound of rain, the way sunlight filters through leaves. It means slowing down enough to experience what is actually happening, instead of always thinking about what's next. Children do this naturally. A child does not need a reason to be happy. They find joy in bubbles, in running barefoot, in playing with a stick. They are fully present in whatever they are doing. But as people grow older, they stop seeing life this way. Responsibilities take over. Stress replaces curiosity. The mind becomes too full of plans and worries to notice what is right in front of it. One of the biggest reasons people struggle to feel happy is that they are always waiting. They think, I'll be happy when I have more money, when I lose weight, when I find the right person. But when they reach those goals, happiness still feels temporary. The mind immediately looks for the next thing. This is because happiness is not something that exists in the future. It can only be experienced now. If we do not learn to be happy in ordinary moments, we will never be truly happy, no matter what we achieve. There is a simple shift that can change this. Instead of seeing life as something to get through, we can start seeing it as something to experience. Instead of rushing past small moments, we can learn to appreciate them. This does not mean forcing happiness or pretending everything is perfect. It simply means being present enough to notice what is already good. Think about something you do every day, drinking a glass of water, stepping outside, feeling the warmth of a shower. These moments happen so often that they become automatic. But if you pause and really experience them, they become different. If you drink water with awareness, you notice how refreshing it feels. If you step outside and look at the sky, you remember that you are part of something vast. If you feel the warmth of the shower instead of thinking about your day, you experience a small moment of comfort. These things don't change. What changes is whether or not we notice them. Gratitude is a natural result of paying attention. When we start noticing small joys, we begin to appreciate life more. We realize that even on difficult days, there is still something good. A conversation with a friend, the sound of laughter, the feeling of resting after a long day. These moments do not erase struggles, but they add balance. They remind us that life is not only made of problems. Some people resist this idea. They think, noticing small things won't fix my bigger problems, and that is true. This is not about ignoring difficulties. It is about not letting difficulties become the only thing we see. If we train ourselves to always look for what is wrong, then no matter how good life becomes, we will always find something to complain about. But if we train ourselves to notice what is good, then even in hard times, we will find moments of peace. People who are truly happy are not happy because their lives are perfect. They're happy because they have learned to appreciate life as it is. They have learned that happiness is not something that needs to be created, it just needs to be noticed. Chapter 3: Resilience, Thriving Through Difficult Times. Think about the last time something went wrong in your life. Maybe it was a disappointment, a personal loss, or an unexpected setback. How did you react? Did it completely overwhelm you, or did you find a way to move forward? The way we handle challenges has a huge impact on our happiness. Some people crumble under stress, while others seem to bounce back quickly. The difference isn't that some people are lucky and avoid hardship, it's that some people have learned resilience. Resilience is the ability to face difficulties without being completely broken by them. It's not about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about learning to adapt, stay strong, and keep moving forward, even when things feel unfair or overwhelming. Life will always bring challenges, but suffering is not just about what happens to us. It's about how we respond. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing that happiness depends on a life without problems. They think, if only things were easier, I would be happy. But struggle is unavoidable. No matter how successful or careful we are, there will always be difficulties. Instead of hoping for a problem-free life, we need to focus on becoming the kind of person who can handle anything life throws at us. The way we interpret hardship makes all the difference. Two people can go through the same challenge and have completely different experiences. One person sees failure as proof that they are not good enough. The other sees it as a chance to learn and grow. One person gets stuck in anger and frustration. The other accepts what happened and starts looking for solutions. The situation is the same, but the mindset is different, and the mindset determines how much suffering is created. A key part of resilience is accepting what we cannot change. Many people waste energy fighting reality. They replay the past, wishing things had happened differently. They resist circumstances instead of adapting to them. This only creates frustration. Resilient people, on the other hand, focus on what they can control. They accept what has happened, process their emotions, and then shift their energy toward moving forward. Emotional flexibility is another important part of resilience. Some people get stuck in negative emotions. They let sadness, anger, or disappointment take over their entire mindset. But emotions, like waves, are meant to rise and fall. Resilient people allow themselves to feel emotions without letting those emotions define them. They acknowledge pain, but do not let it consume their identity. One of the most powerful shifts we can make is changing how we view challenges. Most people see obstacles as setbacks. But what if struggles were actually opportunities in disguise? Many of the most successful and fulfilled people did not succeed despite their hardships. They succeeded because of them. They used failure as a teacher. They used pain as fuel for personal growth. They saw every obstacle as a lesson that made them stronger. This is not about being positive all the time. It's about choosing a mindset that makes you stronger instead of weaker. It's about recognizing that struggle is not the enemy. Giving up is. Difficulties will come. Life will not always be fair. But within every challenge, there is an opportunity to grow. The key is to focus on what can be learned rather than just what was lost. Resilience is built through action. Every time you face a challenge and choose to keep going, you become stronger. Every time you adapt, instead of resisting change, you become more flexible. Every time you shift your focus from what is wrong to what can be done, you develop mental strength. Over time, these small choices add up, creating a mindset that can handle anything life brings. The good news is that resilience is not something you are born with. It's something you can build. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to how you react to difficulties. Do you get stuck in negativity, or do you look for ways to move forward? Do you waste energy resisting reality, or do you focus on adapting? Do you let failures define you, or do you use them as lessons? The more you practice shifting your mindset, the stronger your resilience will become. Happiness is not about avoiding pain. It's about developing the strength to navigate pain without losing yourself in it. Resilience does not mean life gets easier. It means you get stronger. And when you become stronger, happiness is no longer something that depends on circumstances. It is something you carry within you, no matter what life brings. Chapter 4: meaning, connection, and purpose. At the end of life, no one looks back and wishes they had spent more time chasing success, making money, or impressing people. They remember the moments of love, the relationships that mattered, and the ways they made a difference. They remember laughter, deep conversations, and the feeling of being truly seen and understood. They remember the times they felt connected to something greater than themselves. Everything else fades, but meaning remains. Happiness is not found in isolation. It is not something we can achieve alone, locked inside our own world. It is deeply connected to relationships, purpose, and the feeling that our lives matter. People who live with meaning are happier, even when they face difficulties. Those who lack meaning, no matter how much they achieve, often feel empty. Human beings are wired for connection. From birth, we seek love, understanding, and a sense of belonging. When we feel disconnected, whether from others, from ourselves, or from a sense of purpose, life feels dull. We might have everything we need on the surface, but something will always feel missing. That missing piece is often connection. Many people assume that happiness is a personal journey, something that comes from individual success or self-improvement. But the happiest people are not those who focus only on themselves. They are the ones who give, love, and contribute to the world around them. Helping others, showing kindness, and being part of something bigger than ourselves brings a deep and lasting happiness that personal achievements alone cannot provide. Think about a time you helped someone, not because you had to, but because you genuinely wanted to. Maybe you offered support to a friend who was struggling. Maybe you did something small for a stranger, like holding a door open or offering a kind word. How did it feel? Acts of kindness create a sense of fulfillment because they remind us that we are part of something greater than just our own problems. They shift the focus from what we lack to what we can give. Connection is not just about being around people, it's about being present with them. Many people are surrounded by others yet feel deeply lonely. They spend time together physically, but are distracted mentally. They have conversations, but they don't truly listen. They go through the motions of relationships without investing in them. Real connection requires presence. It means putting away distractions, listening with full attention, and showing up emotionally. Strong relationships do not happen by accident. They require effort, patience, and a willingness to be vulnerable. Many people avoid deep connections because they fear rejection or disappointment. But closing ourselves off only leads to loneliness. True connection happens when we are willing to be seen as we are, imperfections and all. It happens when we let others in, even when it feels uncomfortable. Beyond relationships, happiness is also deeply tied to purpose. A life without purpose feels empty, no matter how much comfort or success exists. Purpose is not always about a grand mission or career. It can be as simple as knowing that what we do matters. It can be found in raising children, in creative work, in helping others, or in personal growth. It can be found in any activity that makes us feel alive and useful. People who lack purpose often chase happiness through external means. They buy things, seek entertainment, or fill their time with distractions. But none of these things create lasting fulfillment. The happiest people wake up knowing that their life has meaning, that their actions contribute to something beyond themselves. They have a reason to keep going, even when life is difficult. Finding purpose does not mean changing everything overnight. It starts with small steps. It means paying attention to what excites you, what makes you feel connected, what gives you energy. It means asking, what can I contribute, instead of just, what can I get? It means choosing to do things that bring value, not just to yourself, but to others. Happiness is not a feeling that appears out of nowhere. It is built through meaning, connection, and purpose. It grows when we invest in relationships, when we give without expecting anything in return, and when we wake up knowing that what we do matters. A life without connection and meaning will always feel empty, no matter how much success or comfort exists. But a life filled with purpose will bring happiness, even in the hardest moments. Chapter 5, Designing a Life of Sustainable Happiness. If happiness were just a feeling, it would come and go without our control. But happiness is not just an emotion, it is a state of being shaped by our daily choices, habits, and mindset. People often assume that happiness is something that happens to them, but the truth is, it is something they create. If happiness depended entirely on luck, no one would be able to maintain it for long. But some people seem to be consistently happy, even when life is not perfect. That is because they have built their lives in a way that supports lasting happiness. A common mistake is believing that happiness is a destination. People think that once they achieve certain things, they will be happy forever. But happiness is not something that happens after success, after love, or after reaching a goal. It is something that must be cultivated daily, just like health. If someone wants to be physically strong, they cannot go to the gym once and expect to stay in shape forever. They have to exercise regularly. The same is true for happiness. It is not a one-time achievement, but a practice that must be maintained. Many people think that their biggest obstacle to happiness is their circumstances. They believe that if they had more money, a better job, or a different life, they would finally feel content. But studies show that external changes only bring temporary boosts in happiness. People adapt quickly to new situations. A promotion, a bigger house, or a new relationship might feel exciting at first, but over time the mind returns to its normal state. This is why some of the happiest people in the world have very little, while some of the most miserable people have everything. Lasting happiness is not about changing circumstances. It is about changing how we experience life. One of the most effective ways to create sustainable happiness is through intentional habits. The small things we do every day shape our overall well-being. If someone constantly consumes negative news, spends time around toxic people, and focuses on everything that is wrong, they will feel unhappy no matter what. If someone prioritizes gratitude, meaningful connections, and activities that bring joy, they will feel happy regardless of their challenges. The key is consistency. A single good day does not create lasting happiness, just like a single workout does not create lifelong fitness. It is the repeated effort over time that makes the difference. A balanced life is another essential part of sustainable happiness. Many people chase success at the cost of their health, relationships, and well-being, only to find that their achievements feel empty. Others avoid responsibility and seek constant comfort, only to feel restless and unfulfilled. Real happiness comes from a balance of structure and spontaneity, work and rest, responsibility and play. It is about knowing when to push forward and when to slow down. Rest and play are often overlooked, but they are crucial for long-term happiness. Many people fill their days with endless tasks and responsibilities, believing that productivity equals worth. But constant busyness leads to exhaustion, and exhaustion makes happiness impossible. Taking time for activities that bring joy, whether it is reading, walking, creating, or spending time with loved ones, is not a waste of time. It is a necessary part of a fulfilling life. Rest is not just about sleeping. It is about giving the mind space to breathe, reflect, and enjoy the moment. Another important factor in sustainable happiness is self-compassion. Many people are far kinder to others than they are to themselves. They judge themselves harshly, replay mistakes, and feel like they are never doing enough. But self-criticism does not lead to happiness or success. It leads to stress and burnout. Treating oneself with the same kindness and patience that would be given to a friend is essential. Everyone makes mistakes, everyone has bad days, and everyone struggles. Learning to accept imperfections without letting them define self-worth is a key part of lasting happiness. Ultimately, happiness is not something we find. It is something we build. It is not about waiting for the right circumstances, but about creating a life that supports joy, meaning, and resilience. It is about small, consistent choices that, over time, shape a fulfilling and balanced life. No one is happy all the time, but by designing life in a way that nurtures well-being, happiness can become a natural and sustainable state. The power to be happy every day is not found in the future. It is found in the choices made today.